Hello, hello, hello. Game week 16 of the Hooligan Soccer Podcast. Coming
Damn
to
right.
you a little bit later than usual, than we normally drop this as well for a number of reasons. The Qooligan, you were in wonderful Southern California, I believe. Is that right?
I was.
Refereeing?
Ladies and gentlemen, I was at the MLS Next Fest,
Nice.
which is the showcase tournament for the MLS Next League, which is the youth academies and youth system for division of the MLS soccer brand.
Wonderful.
So yes, it was me and 405 teams from across the country and Canada. Canada was included. In fact, I got to officiate a game with Toronto FC, their U19 Pro Pathway Academy.
Amazing.
And by officiate, I was the fourth official. So I stood looking very referee-like between two very angry coaches, Toronto FC on one side and Cincinnati FC on the other. And I just tried to keep the peace.
Wonderful.
My one disappointment, Gary, and I will carry this disappointment for some time, is they didn't give us a board.
Oh, you can no Hublot board or something sponsored by Timex.
There was no board for me to announce stoppage time, much to the disappointment of the crowd, and it was a big crowd. Actually, at that, there were probably at least 120, 130 spectators, which is
legit. A lot of them scouts, I imagine, as well, right? So this is
and
scout.
Just people, just people. The event is free. The event was free. There was no admission. All you had to do was go. The fields were great. It was held at Apollo grounds. So they had 36 fields. Imagine that, Gary, 36 full-size fields. Not all of them were being used at any one time because they would rotate games to keep the grass intact. But over 6 days, 405 teams, 7,300 players.
That's a lot. I wish they did that for my Sunday league games when I was younger as well, because we'd go there with fields and they would be packed. And then there always the muddy pitches at the beginning of the season. There would be mud patches around, obviously, the goal area.
Oh boy!
This season, there's just no grass, right? So
this being Indio, California, it's the same. For those people who are familiar, it's the same location as the Coachella Music Festival.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's the same venue that they use for Coachella.
Fantastic.
And so when you don't get mud patches, you get sandy patches, where the ball will kind of go and stop a little and then keep going. Yeah, so but it was great. It was a wonderful experience. But as exciting as that was, wow, there was some significant excitement in other soccer locations around the world that did not include kids.
It's great that we've got this from Thursday of recording this, so we're able to catch all of the Champions League games, because normally we do Wednesday and sort of in the middle of the Saturday.
That is true. Yes.
So we can do that. So we'll go through the Champions League. There's so much to go through as well.
Yep.
Premier League, we can talk a little bit about last week's games, but I think also coming up, it's very exciting next coming week. There's also, we'll touch on the MLS Cup and the results of the winner there as well, because I think I have a little bit of egg on my face because I made a really bad call after our podcast and I changed my mind and it blew up in my face. We'll talk about that. And then just on world news, there is a lot of activity going on at FIFA. Not only have they just closed that DAZN, as it's pronounced, $1 billion deal for the FIFA World Cup, but we'll talk about future World Cups as well, which is it was exciting. So we've got a lot.
As you know, I have a small opinion on that subject.
Mr. Gianni Infantino, this person in particular.
I'm not even talking about Dr. Evil. Nope, I'm not even going there.
It's not something positive towards you, and still we're looking forward to complimentary box tickets as well at any future games.
Yeah. I mean, still, yeah. Well, we'll get into it. I'm going to save it all for later. So
let's kick off with the Champions League. Sure. I mean, first of all, we've got so many different sort of narratives here and talking points to go through. Your article that you finally dropped as you got back just had me in stitches as I was reading through it. I thought it was perfect, but I think that there's only one place to really, really start, and that is City. Manchester City. It is, I think, full-blown crisis. They have one win in 10 games. They've conceded 10 games in 5 goals.
10 goals in 5 games.
I'm sorry, 10 goals in 5 games. They've conceded 10 in 5.
Bring that back, flip it. You're all good. Yeah.
A number spoonerism there, a numerical spoonerism.
Totally fine.
Crisis. What the hell? When does this stop? I mean, part of me, there is some Schadenfreude here where I'm just like, how low can they go? How long will this keep going on for? It's a train smash, but it's fascinating to watch.
It is. It is. And it is even more fascinating due to the fact that City have, in many cases, defied expectation and stayed on top for so long. Mm-hmm. Their reign has been as powerful, right? They were as powerful an entity in world football as nearly anyone. PSG's dominance of the French league is another good example of that. But like, you know, but even
with that Barcelona team, that Messi Barcelona team that just dominated under Pep,
City is in crisis mode, and it's hard to pinpoint any one real reason for it. So many little tiny things that are coming in. I'm going to go back to what I claimed back in October, which was that the loss of Rodri was the first domino that fell, and all the other dominoes have been going down because I think Rodri was able to plaster over many of the cracks that were there within the system. Mm-hmm. And he's no longer there. So the cracks are getting bigger. There are some other players that are aging. There are some players that are, and they have suffered a number of other injuries to other players as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's just underperformance. And that's the one thing that you can never predict. Mm-hmm. Haaland is in a drought. Foden's in a bigger drought. There's a lot happening with players that they have relied upon to produce their goals. Mm-hmm. And they're no longer stepping up.
Yeah. Interestingly, Phil Foden was on the bench and did not even get on the field. Yeah. Which is interesting. So
it's also interesting because he has performed better in Champions League matches than he has in other matches. But yeah, I think I don't know. There could be some trouble in that paradise, right?
Yeah.
There could be some trouble there.
It's the rocket ship has to sort of stop and has to sort of slow down at some point, and that's what they're feeling. Just the question is what do they do to get out of this? Do they wait for the injuries to come back? You know, Pep was making the case that he's lost 3 central defenders and 2 defensive midfielders, Kovacic and of course, and then obviously there's a whole bunch of central defenders that are also missing. But to be honest, like everyone also has injuries around this time, and this is what happens. So this is not uncommon. But all of a sudden, as you say, Haaland has a goal drought. He's not scoring. De Bruyne just getting back into the side and sort of, he's sort of, coming to his end. So how do they fix this? Do they have a conveyor belt of youth team coming through the system that they can then sort of freshen up the squad with? I'm looking at Cole Palmer here, and you look back at that and you think that was a really stupid move to let Cole Palmer go last season, right? They could have, done with him now if you think about it.
They have got to be kicking themselves.
Of course. And
they have to be kicking themselves right now.
And Foden was keeping him out of the team, and now Foden's not even in the team. So it's interesting. So are they going to go and spend big in January?
No. I don't think they do that. I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah. And here's the reason why. They still have 135 charges. Right? Yeah. That hasn't gone away.
15, I think 115, but yeah, there's a lot of charges.
Okay, fine, 115. Yeah, I added 20 in my head, but still, they've still got that hanging over them.
Yeah. So is that?
And so that would be the wrong reaction, because if they go and start splashing cash, that microscope is going to start turning into a magnifying glass.
Yes.
Which is going to be focusing the sun's rays directly on Pep's bald head. And it ain't going to look good. Right. So, and I'm not saying that, Pep's not responsible for the 115 charges. Don't get me wrong. Right. But still, you know what I'm saying? It's like that they have enough talent, and they know they have enough talent.
Yeah.
And when you look at the City performance, while they dominated the possession and they had shots and they did this and they did that, they are lacking that merciless edge that they used to have. It used to be you gave City 68% possession,
you're gone. Yeah.
So you were walking out with a win 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah.
There's a ruthlessness that has left the building. There's a hunger that has left the building. Maybe they're all paid too much and they're too complacent. I have a cure for that. Sign me. I would totally give 110% every day.
Would you? Well, you'd have to play central defense or defensive midfielder. Do you still have the legs for it?
Nah. But I would be an assistant kit man like you wouldn't believe.
Bring in the personality. We wouldn't want to lose you here.
I would have those shoes perfect, like just smelling like roses after every game.
Well,
you better believe it.
We'll let your agent know that you're available on a free transfer maybe as well.
Please do.
Yeah, Hooligan Soccer, but we will want to.
That's right.
Okay, so City, yeah, we'll see what happens there, but I agree, it's interesting. They are suddenly in an interesting bind where, yeah, I agree, they can't go shopping big, but then see, like, again, how long does this go on for? Because there is a strong possibility they don't qualify, or they'll maybe get knocked out. Their form at the moment would suggest they'll get knocked out in the knockout phases of the Champions League. You never know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then
well, notice Pep in his post-game interview has dialed back the expectation. I mean, the expectations was the final. That's what they had to have that. Yeah. They had to have the expectation that they were going into the final. Now it's let's just make the round of 16.
Get out of this. Get out of the groups. Yeah, get out of the group.
Let's just survive, right? And so,
isn't that the truth? What's interesting is, so if you look at City, they're down in 22nd place in the Champions League on 8 points. Just below them, in 25th, outside the zone, as you mentioned, in 7 points is PSG. So they won this one. They got that 3-0 win. Is fine. But if you look at their upcoming games, which is sort of really interesting and sort of who they're playing against.
They're playing Man City.
Yeah.
So that is the game. That is the game on the 22nd of January.
Yeah.
You have two teams
fighting
whose Champions League form have been in the crapper.
Yeah.
Playing each other, and the winner of that will be okay. Yeah. And the loser of that will not.
That is the game to watch, eh? That is
the game to watch, yes. And then they're on the 29th, which is the final. That's the final wrap-up day. They have all of the games all kicking off at the same time at noon
on one day.
On one day, on the Wednesday.
Wow.
Yes.
They
have 18 games all.
That Galazzo show is going to be fantastic to watch.
That Galazzo show is going to cause seizures. I do not recommend watching that. Okay, kids, don't try that at home.
Nico.
Just pick one, and they got to give the CBS team a 2-hour block after that because they can go all day, and I will watch them all day.
I will watch
no, but here's the good side: City finishes up against Brugge, Club Brugge.
Against Bruges, yeah, okay.
Or Bruges, if you want to be English,
yes,
or French about it, but that's a soft landing for them. All right, and PSG has Stuttgart, who have been not performing well, so both teams have a chance. That lifeline on that final day is good for them. They have a chance to get those valuable 3 points and stay inside that knockout phase.
But what's interesting here, we're now talking about Manchester City and PSG, about just slipping inside into the knockout phase or into the sudden death phase to get through to the knockout phase. So this is just interesting how the tides have turned and how things have come around. Hey, it's interesting.
It's like we're in a parallel universe.
It's a parallel universe. And look at that. And Chelsea are riding high at the top of the league as well. So hey, things have really.
That's what I mean. Parallel universe.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? Be humble, because your turn will come to be up, and then also as well your turn will come to fall as well.
I would like to remind everyone how humble I was when Crystal Palace was having an abysmal start to the league. And it's possible that they're beginning to pull themselves out of that cellar. It's possible.
Or against City on the weekend.
They tied Man City.
There we go.
And they could have won.
They could have won. Sticking on the Champions League, Liverpool just grinding out. They're just going into sort of robot mode here as well. They will just get on the road, go and score 1-0, shut up shop, and then just get on to the next game as well. And this is how to do.
It is, and they weren't tip top.
No.
But again, Luis Diaz is such a sneaky, dynamic player that when he made that move into the box and Van de Beek took him down. I mean, there it is. You're going to put Mo Salah missed his one penalty this year. That was it. He's not going to miss another one. He's not missing another penalty.
Yeah.
And when he gets that ball in that spot, I usually go up and get a cup of coffee because I know what the result's going to be. I don't even bother.
Done. Interesting to see Donny van de Beek playing, obviously, back in the Champions League, although, again, couldn't get it. Went to Manchester United and just couldn't get in the team. Yeah. But good to see him back on the field. I think the other thing as well that we have to talk about is Brest. I mean, again, I think we all rapidly, my summer holidays, I think we should go to Brest. I really do want to go there and see what they're putting in the water, because it is incredible how they just keep on pulling out results. Hey, that was a sloppy goal, but I don't care. Oh,
it doesn't have to be pretty, Gary. You know that. It's like it just has to be done.
Yeah,
and they're doing it. As Champions League debutants from a very small, from a municipality that is, at least in their home, in their home province of Breton or Brittany, big, but not big by any international standards. This is a true working class community team that is punching so much above their weight.
Yeah.
And I think their presence in the knockout round is guaranteed, in my opinion. They play Shakhtar next, Donetsk.
Yeah.
And that should be a win for them.
That should be.
Shakhtar's proven. I mean, Shakhtar's very weird. You never know which team's going to show up, but
that's true.
They should win that. But they do finish against Real Madrid. And I think
Brest,
that,
Wow. Think about that. Like, Brest could have qualified and not have to do anything, and Real Madrid could be fighting for their lives on this one. Now,
that is a possibility that Real will be below them in the table and need that win much more than they will.
Yep.
And I think that favors Brest.
Yes,
because when you don't have when the freedom with which that they are playing, they came in with zero expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, they have a hypnotist. I guarantee you they got a hypnotist in the dressing room. And before every game, he wipes their memory clear of the fact that there's anything else out there. And they just go and play for the joy. And they just, and it's 100%. It's like all out. And then when he comes back, he snaps his fingers and everybody comes back and goes, "Oh, we won again? That's great."
Yeah.
So they're good to see. It's good to see this. They've really been the definitive underdog story of this Champions League. And if they can go on, I mean, what if they make top 8? Holy crap. If they go to knockout, they're going to probably be in the top half of the knockout, which means that they get the home game on the second fixture.
And also as well, they would be ranked as a higher seed. But the problem is the way this new format is shaking up is suddenly you're going to see, you could have City, Man City, Real Madrid, and PSG as the sort of the weaker seeds, and like going up against Brest.
You could.
It's interesting.
We've said it before. I'm like, why are they tweaking this? What the hell? This is better, Gary.
So I think
it's been better.
3 weeks in a row now where we've talked about this, and now
it's been better.
And your article that you put out there as well, you made such a good point, which is if this was the old format, this would have been decided by now, and there would have been 3 games. There would have been nothing burgers.
Nothing left to talk about.
Look at us talking about full massive 18 game bonanza, which is just going to be so exciting. And just the upsets and the shocks here as well. I normally, the only thing that is constant is change, and normally we don't like human beings, but UEFA have really, they've done a really good job here. You have to commend.
And even the bottom feeders that are sitting inside the elimination zone could make a sudden move. 2 wins, 6 points. Right? 6 points, and all of a sudden Sparta, Prague, or Sturm Graz, or Girona, who could suddenly get into that 24th spot.
Red Star Belgrade are now referred to as what? Can you pronounce that, as you affectionately pointed out in your article?
Crvena Zvezda.
I think They have a history. They've been in a couple of European championship, European.
They have. Oh no. They're, I mean, Red Star Belgrade is a quality club, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time. They're internationally. They're one of the big Eastern European clubs that consistently produces.
They're in like, I think in like 50s and 60s they lost finals to Liverpool and Juventus and things like that. But they've been there, right? They're like the Nottingham Forest of Eastern Europe, right? That's the pedigree there.
There you go. Okay, yeah, so, absolutely. And then you look at, and also you've got clubs, clubs in that middle range, like, Celtic. Hey man, they've got 3 draws in their last 4 games. They're gonna need to do more.
They're going to need points.
Right? Obviously, we've already discussed Man City. PSV, Eindhoven is sitting in that bubble zone.
Yeah.
I think, and surprisingly, who I think has this is my dark horse loser of my dark horse loser prediction. Sporting eliminated.
You think because again, losing since Amarin has left, they can't do the business anymore. Hey, lost 2 on the last 2. Yeah,
they've lost. They have, and they play. Well, you know what? I'm going to retract that statement because they played Bologna in their last game, and it's going to be an easy win. Hate to say it, but Bologna's been they've been too soft.
What is interesting as well, what's so exciting, if you look at from the 24th, right, there from position 24 in 8 points, there are up until 9, there are 5 points separating. Sorry, not even that. 4 points separating 9th place to 24. Mm-hmm. So it is tight. You're going to get a lot of the
very tight.
January 20th.
Yeah, you know what? I'm retracting that statement because I just noticed they're playing Leipzig, who's already been eliminated.
Yeah. And
Bologna, who probably should be eliminated, but aren't yet, only because they're stubborn. But they'll probably make it through. They'll make it through.
Interesting.
Bologna, by the way, just so you know, Bologna has only scored 1 goal.
They've only scored 1 goal.
6 games. 1 goal.
1 goal. Oh my goodness me!
1 goal. Crazy. They've also only conceded 7.
Okay, well that's the good Italian defending for you as well. So right,
that's classic.
Classic Italians.
Yeah. Classic Italian.
Another interesting that I've just noticed as well is you've got Red Bull Salzburg and Red Bull Leipzig. Okay, teams also down in the dumps. I know we're going to go on to the MLS, and obviously Red Bull New York. They also sort of obviously didn't do it. So with Jurgen Klopp coming in there as their new director of football, he's got some going to have some fun there. That's going to be interesting to see if he can turn that sort of whole sort of ecosystem of sort of football team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Red Bull New York did a great job to make it to the MLS finals. We'll go into more detail about that. They're without a doubt the jewel in the Red Bull crown right now, only because Salzburg and Leipzig have really crapped the bed. I mean, they're not doing well, and
they're not doing well in the Champions League, but in their respective leagues, in the German league and the Austrian league.
Yeah, I actually don't even know where they're at. They're probably doing fine.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, Alexander Sefren, president of UEFA, congratulations. I think big fan of what you've done. Great work. It really is such an exciting competition, and it's just made it even more engaging.
2 thumbs up from this guy. I like it. I like it a lot.
Sure. Okay. I think the other thing that also was worth pointing out, and I don't know if you were traveling and you got to see it, but the CBS reporting as well. So they had Micah Richards on the road. He was in Juventus with Alessandro Del Piero. They had Clint Dempsey in the studio, and all of a sudden he was obviously covering the Juventus Man City game. Micah Richards, who is a lot more very bombastic and sort of energetic. I've never seen Michael Richards so depressed. He couldn't string a sentence together when they had to interview him after the Man City loss against Juventus. So it was. I
did miss that. I'm really upset that I missed that, but yeah.
It happens.
Dude, sometimes your team loses. Get it together, boy. Get it together.
This is, as a Crystal Palace fan, this is real life. Get used to it, right? It's not about Champions Leagues and trebles all the time as well. It's survival and not being relegated. Hey, real life.
Thank you for understanding, Gary. Yes, as a Crystal Palace fan, we deal with this every day. Interesting side note. I'm watching the Crystal Palace game in the referee tent early in the morning, right? And there's another referee on the other side, and we both jump up at one moment and we look at each other and we go,
wait,
Crystal Palace? And he goes, Crystal Palace? And it's like, it was a meet cute in a rom-com between referees. It was like a referee meet cute. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Do you think all referees
Absolutely.
are Crystal Palace fans, or do you think it's just
No? No, trust me, we're the only two there. Everybody else was complaining about the fact that they wouldn't put the college football on the big TV. They were like, we had to watch. Actually, we had the MLS finals,
of course,
on because they have a TV there. They have a TV in the ref tent, and they were playing the MLS. They were playing the MLS finals. So I did actually get to catch the first 30 minutes, which bluntly, from what I understand, from the subsequent 60 minutes, the first 30 was the best part anyway. So.
Don't you love it when that happens? When you catch all the action and then that's it.
You're like, okay, great.
Okay, so that sets us up for the Champions League. I think that's the next round of fixtures. Is we still have another round of fixtures this year as well? Is that right? Next week as well, we have another round, or have I got that?
That's it. This is it. The next one is in January. January 22nd, and then the following week, January 29th, is match week 8, the penultimate week.
Okay, the penultimate. I've been following the Europa Conference League and, of course, watching Chelsea today win against in Kazakhstan, which was, again, I think their C team came out and they brought even more kids out and beat. So they have a champion. There is a Europa Conference next week. So that will be
beautiful Astana, where the air temperature was like -6 degrees Celsius.
They'll get to 10 Celsius, I believe. Yeah. So imagine that. Yeah.
And so for you Americans out there, that's cold.
That's like that. What is
that's real cold?
-6 Celsius has got to be sort of like what, -30s or something like that?
No, -10 degrees Celsius is approximately 8 degrees Fahrenheit, 8 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow. Okay, yeah, chilly.
You know what? It's not even that cold.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the math right now. Whatever. That's math. It's too late. It's too late for me to do math.
Beer's going on. Okay, so
let's move on to the next thing.
Turn our attention to the next concept, Premier League. So
Premier League
is got last week's results high level. I think sort of the takeaway, it's Chelsea. That's all seemed to be.
No. It's not Chelsea.
Give me this opportunity to finally talk about Chelsea when they're sort of doing well at once. But okay, I agree with you.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Talk about Chelsea.
I agree with you. There were definitely some other interesting timelines. Of course, Palace drawing against City could have won.
I mean,
out of the relegation zone, looking very good, looking very pretty. What I will say, though, is I saw Manchester United. They lost, didn't they? Manchester United lost to Forest. And Forest have now put themselves up in the contention for the Champions League as well. So they've
did they?
Last week, yes.
Manchester they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right.
To Forest. I thought that was interesting. Of course, we had City drawing with your beloved Eagles. And then the other one as well, unfortunately, the Everton-Liverpool game. That was an exciting one. And this is where it's interesting, right?
Yes. I actually think that this is going to have bigger ramifications as we move on than many people think.
You're exactly right. I agree.
I called it the Crucible, right? It's called the December Crucible. You have the concentration of the Champions League games. You have 5 league games in 4 weeks. For those with champion leagues, you have an additional Champions League or Europa League game in the middle of that as well. And there's also an FA Cup tie for all teams.
Yes.
So you're talking about, for some teams, 7 games in a 4-week period. For a game to be postponed,
yes,
it's a rest.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, but you still have to pay the price somewhere down the line.
You pay the price later,
yes,
but you don't pay the price during the Crucible.
Yes.
And depending on when that game gets rescheduled, and there are so many factors that can go into that, I'm wondering, and I don't know the answer to this. These are hypothetical questions that's like, does Liverpool gain an advantage out of this? Is it to their benefit to have a game in hand?
Mm-hmm.
I say yes. I think getting an extra rest day and having a game in hand ultimately is a boon for Liverpool.
I don't disagree with your philosophy and what you're saying. The challenge will be is what happens in the subsequent games in that Crucible. Now, if Liverpool stumble and get 2 draws along the way and Chelsea keep winning and catch up all of a sudden, and Chelsea are a point behind, of course, the narrative will be, well, we've still got a game in hand. But it just adds more pressure to that game, and
it does.
Crucible and the psychology of it as well. So for me, I'm actually more of a fan of play your games, get them in, get your results in, and then put the action onto the other team. Similar to penalties as well. I'd always much rather go first. I'll take my penalty, and then let's see what you do. So, right. but I agree with you. It's interesting. It's just this narrative that is coming in, and then of course that Chelsea game. I mean, they went 2-0 down because Cucurella had the wrong equipment on and blamed his studs. Incidentally, there was a picture where he posted a picture on Instagram of those boots with the small studs in the trash can, in the bin, and said, not using these again. And then Puma, his sponsor, had to back channel with him and say, can you please remove that post? It's not a good look for the brand for Puma being seen in the trash and our players doing it, right?
Well, that's why in some ways I have to applaud Mark for that, because he was thinking as a player first and not as a sponsor. So I give him kudos.
It's for the fans.
For at least being honest about the impact. And it's not the boots' fault.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have just as easily posted a picture of him putting the kitman in the bag, because it's the kitman that puts the studs on and decides on the studs, right? Yeah. Players don't have much impact on that. I think that's...
You can argue, though, that they go out there, they just sort of prep warm up on the field and they test it.
Yeah.
I know there are clubs that also do this. They're a bit sneaky. I know Mourinho's teams always do this, where they spray the field just before the teams are about to come on. So you practice on the field and then you spray it. But what was interesting as well from sort of my perspective here is Chelsea went 2-0 down, and you just saw that once they went 2-0 down, they didn't look as though they'd lost their heads. They were like, okay, let's dig in. Sancho got that goal, and you felt it. It was like, they're going to get back into this. They're going to get back into it. And when it came through, I mean, wow, it's Cole Palmer is obviously sort of rapidly rising to sort of, legendary status, elite level. The one fan who I have wanted to like for so long, but just couldn't really get behind him, was Enzo Fernandez. And all of a sudden, he is scoring goals. He is assisting. They've changed his position. They put him a little further forward. He is looking really, really special. So it's all come together for Chelsea just at the right time by the looks of it.
I mean, yeah. And of course, Tottenham, Spursiness, baby. It's a thing. It's real.
This is, they say they're one gear, aren't they? They're just Ange Postecoglou, which is high line, just go for it. And then once they went 2-0 up, they could have sat back, could have defended a little bit, but did not seem to happen. They just didn't really know what to do with this sort of position.
There's two things that I've noticed so far in the first 15 games of the Premier League is teams that are slavish in their devotion to a style.
Yes. This is the way we play.
You've got Tottenham with their high line and their Ange ball type of thing. And the second is Southampton with their absolute insistence that we're going to build out from the back.
We're going to play out from the back. It doesn't work and we've got shit players, but we're going to stick to it. We're not changing. Yeah.
I just can't figure out why they continue to do this.
The manager's asking for a sacking, and he's probably going to get a couple of million payout. But why?
I watch them and I go, oh,
it's working. It's not working.
I wrote about it in a previous thing, but if the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, Southampton is the craziest team in English soccer.
Yeah. Yes.
There it is.
Agree.
There it is. And of course, Arsenal didn't win.
I was just thinking about that as well.
Dude, Fulham, who have been really, Fulham is really, they're quite the tops. They're quite an odd, Jekyll and Hyde type team. But Brentford's the other one that does the same.
These small London teams.
Sometimes right? Brentford is just like beautiful, dynamic, and other times you're just like, what is this horror show?
Yeah.
But I'd say that Fulham, yeah, they're doing it right. Kept Arsenal. I mean, for Liverpool, you have a game in hand. Okay, Chelsea's got some steam and they're making their way back up again. But all of a sudden, Man City's far away. Arsenal's far away. Everyone else is super far away. Yeah. Right?
It looks like it's breaking out to be sort of a 2-horse title race all of a sudden.
It could be a 2-horse race. It could be, yeah.
Could be.
So
but this is
we'll
again,
have to wait and see. Newcastle stumbled.
Yeah,
Villa is picking up steam.
Picked up, yes.
But I think it's too late. I think that train's left the station. They're on the catch up.
Look, I think Villa were never going to be title contenders, but I think if they can land a top 4 spot again and continue through, I think that would be a result for them. And look, they're still in the pack, right? They're still in the pack, 2 points behind 4th place. Sure. But like, it looks like if you want to finish in 3rd or 4th place, because I think it looks like 1st and 2nd is probably sort of pulling away too much, you've got to get ahead of Arsenal and City if you want to get into those top 4 spots. And that's
totally.
Hard. That is hard. Yeah. Well, and then Man United, Amorim, all of a sudden, I was expecting a bounce from Manchester United and Amorim. And I don't know if you saw this image on social media, which it was the first day of Bruno Amorim's press conference where he's young and he's excited and fresh. And then he'd just been hammered by Nottingham Forest at home. And in his press conference, he's looking down. He's got bags under his eyes. And there was the captain of working for Manchester United for your first 30 days. He already, just that image, and it tells 1,000 words, is... Yeah. It's suddenly there's no bounce there, and I don't know if he's got the magic, and he's probably regretting leaving Sporting Lisbon, Champions League sort of high flying position that they had.
I mean, if you recall, I believe I was the one who said this was a bad move for him.
It was. You are. I agree.
It may benefit him financially.
Yes. Look, I think
it is not. But it is not. I do not think this was a smart professional move.
I agree. Definitely hospital pass job for sure. Okay, so coming up this weekend in terms of the fixtures as well, it's going to get interesting and spicy for sure. Because if you look at it,
I mean, again, you've got this great. I mean, the battle of the bottom, Ipswich versus Wolverhampton.
Yes,
this is a must-win game for both teams.
Yes, Ipswich Wolves.
If they want any chance. To get themselves out of that relegation zone, that's a must-win game.
Yes, that is a must-win game. You've also, speaking of must-win games, you've got the Manchester derby, City against United. So you've got two punch-drunk sinking behemoths coming up against each other. So, yeah, that is.
God, it's like being out at the pub at 11:30 p.m. or like 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night. And they just had a few too many pints, and they're just the Blues and the Reds are coming after each. Oh God, it's going to be ugly. I love it. It's going to be great. I love it.
One to watch. That is absolutely going to be one to watch. The derby as well.
And then you've got the classic. What is it? The M. What's that motorway? The M25 that runs from South London down to Brighton.
M25 runs around the.
I don't know. I can't remember that because it's an artificial derby because Crystal Palace are the only South London team, right?
Yeah.
So
because
Millwall will never make the Premier League. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. Millwall will never make the Premier League. So they've got this artificial derby between Brighton and Palace. I think it's
looking for fights to pick by the sounds of it. But interesting, Brighton are sort of flying quite high as well. So if you guys squeeze out a result, I think it will be again. It'll be a big point.
I am quite sanguine with draws as a Palace fan right now. The draw is acceptable. Like I wanted to win against City, and I think if you remember, Gary, I did say that City would give up points to Palace. I believe my exact statement was that Palace will win one of their two fixtures against City.
You did. You said
that. I think the spirit and my soul was really saying that they would make City drop points against them. And I'm sure you would agree with me.
They would draw blood from City, is that it? And bathe themselves in some glory as well, right?
I mean, listen, that's 2 points now that City doesn't have.
Right, and for someone like Palace, who, as you say, objective number one is don't get relegated. I think what's the magic number? It's 15 points, 16 points. I think is
no, the 30.
Is it? Oh, it's more than that. It's you need.
No, it's 36. I believe is the magic. Like the magic number is generally in between 34 and 37.
So
generally
a draw and a couple of wins, pick up a couple of wins. You can rattle up sort of 34 points quite quickly if that's the case.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And then I think the other interesting one is Tottenham-Liverpool. So which Tottenham are you going to see, right? Are you going to see... It's a real Jekyll and Hyde team.
No. Liverpool's playing Fulham.
Well, are you sure about that? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. Very sure. Game week 16.
You are so right. I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button. I was looking at game week 17. Yes.
Totally okay.
Liverpool is playing Fulham. So you'd expect Liverpool to absolutely massacre Fulham. again,
I expect Liverpool to just do the business and be and it's a 1-goal win. It's a 1-goal win.
1 goal, shut up shop, and this is only slot ball we're discovering, which is just grinding.
Yeah, I mean they're at home, so I think there will be a little bit more passion, a little bit more fuego going on. Mm-hmm. But no, it's not. This is right now. Liverpool is in their job is just like you say, it's the grind. Their job is the grind.
Grind it out. Hey?
They don't have to be pretty. They don't have to be effective. They just have to, they can keep disappointing Arne Slot in all of his press conferences, and he can go there and abase himself and talk about how he was disappointed in that. But secretly, he's like being very un-Dutch and cheering on the inside, going, "Yay!" Trust me.
This is the Dutch way, isn't it? Yeah,
Slot wants to play that card as much as he can in the press conferences.
Yeah.
I don't think we played as well. I don't think we played as well as we could have.
He's done a fantastic job so far, and let's hope it continues.
And I think Forest, they're on the strong point. I think they're going to beat Villa.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Listen, Forest is that one team where nobody in their right mind wants to travel to Nottingham and play them.
Although, interestingly, for Villa in midweek, did you see that your favourite super sub, John Durham, came on at half-time and I believe he scored 2 goals, right? Is that correct? So he's just the one.
The banger was Ross Barkley.
That was it. Oh, of course, Ross Barkley. That other.
What
his first Champions League goal? Hey, the team
first Champions League goal, and I mean, what a goal! It was just an absolute golazo,
absolute banger. Okay. So I think we've got some interesting results in there. So let's move over to the other side of the pond now. So MLS has now come to a close and will not start until March. So Messi and co have basically a 3.5 month vacation. So they'll probably take a month off to go back down to South America, enjoy the summer, enjoy the holidays, and then probably travel around a little bit. Historically, this is where some of these MLS players have gone on loan to Europe to keep their fitness. Particularly the American players, Landon Donovan, I remember, used to do this. This is how Clint Dempsey found a path, obviously, into the Premier League, where he was playing. He played for Fulham and then he played for Tottenham for a while as well. So he sort of found it there. I don't know if there will be any MLS players going across. Maybe City will be. I know City will be looking for some central defenders, but I don't think there's any good enough. But the question is, does Messi go back and sort of, play for Barcelona for a little bit, or do you think at his age he just kind of sits back and retires?
No, he's going to sit back. He's going to sit back,
which would be fair.
Yeah.
But going to the final, so for this, Galaxy beating Red Bulls, New York Red Bulls again, New York Red Bulls coming up as well, was 2-1.
Called it.
You did call it. You called the correct score as well. You did say 2-1 as well, so you've definitely sort of got the touch there. On Friday, was looking at this, and I just had a hunch. For some reason, I had a hunch. I posted about it, and I called it out, and I said, I think you're going to get really good odds on Red Bull. Obviously, there was a reason why they were so good on them, because they didn't really stand much of a chance. But I had a feeling I was completely wrong. I called it. You called it here. So they won 2-1. It was first 30 minutes as well. The game was over, and then it was pretty.
It was over in 22. It was over in 22 minutes.
Yeah, over.
And listen, I mean, it's hard to go against a team that scores 15 goals in 3 games.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say. And most of those at home. Oh, yes. Sure, that was just a quirk. No, that's not a quirk. That's not quirky. Right. That stadium was a fortress for them, and they made it that. If they had been in a neutral location, maybe it was a little different.
Maybe, yeah.
But no, they were at home. There was no way they were going to.
Did have the best defense as well. I will say the best defense of.
Well, they did.
Well, but so defense comes against attack. This is sort of the great sort of battle, and obviously LA were too dominant and sort of prevailed. So, congratulations, LA. They are
sure. So, well, a six-time winner, first time since 2014, right? And Red Bulls still don't have a title, even though they're one of the inaugural clubs in the league. But they made it, and nobody nobody expected them to get this far.
They
so
definitely,
for them, it was an overachievement.
For sure. Now, I'm trying to understand that because you have two conferences, you have an East and a West. Galaxy did not win theirs. LA won theirs. LAFC won, and as I posted in my article, they won on goal difference. They won on goal difference, which was incredible. And of course, and then on the Eastern Conference, New York Red Bulls, they were just snuck inside, probably looking to do what Man City and sort of PSG are trying to do now in the Champions League, is just sleep inside the knockout phases. So in theory, you've got two teams. You've got LAFC who won the Western, you've got Miami who won the Eastern, and then you have LA Galaxy who won the playoffs. Who is the best team? How do you help me understand this from an American perspective? Who is the best team? Because this is where
from an American perspective, it's the team with the hardware. And that's all that matters.
But there's three sets of hardware floating around here. So which one is more valuable?
Well, there's the supporter shield, right, which we all know was given to
Miami to get them.
Given to Miami.
Yeah.
And along with it, the cachet of going to the Club World Cup. I'm not sure that one can even, I'm not even sure that one can answer that. I'd say from the points perspective, aka the European or English model, Inter was the best team.
Yeah. Miami.
Right. Yeah. Inter Miami. Yeah.
Okay. But
that's not to say that LAFC and LA Galaxy didn't put together great runs. Like you said, it was a goal difference thing. And that's not how you determine, who the best teams are. We saw the same thing. And that's what makes the U.S. style of playoffs so bizarre.
Yes.
Right. And so much different than because it is somewhat unique to the United States. And so that changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're only as good as your last game.
Yeah.
You're only as good as, right? And that's the any given Sunday scenario that you talk about. On any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just with a combination of numerous factors can come into play. That's, in some cases, what makes it really exciting. But it's also what makes it so damned infuriating.
Yeah.
When a team with so much talent cannot muster that talent or channel that talent over two games in order to secure their spots into the next, or then for the next game or for the next game. So
this is true. Maybe Alexander Sefron needs to come and be the commissioner of the MLS and shake up the MLS format, because he's showing good pedigree here with what he's done with the Champions League.
I don't know. Listen, the MLS format, I think, it's a fun format. Because it also means that for the passionate supporters of clubs that are not the top team, there's something to look forward to, and there's an outlet there for them, even if it's only just one additional game.
Yes, it's true.
You get that one additional spot.
You get that. You get that spot. Yeah.
And that's fun. And that's fun for people.
Exactly. No, that's true. And again, there's so many fun teams, so it's definitely, well, congratulations, Red Bull for getting to the final, I think, as well. Obviously, they've got young.
I think they deserve incredible congratulations and applause just for getting there.
Yeah,
that's a great thing.
That's a cup run. That's Brest like in a way, isn't it? That's sort of the level of sort of
not quite. Listen, if Brest make the top 8,
yeah,
Brest win that underdog title. They were underdogs, but not as big underdogs as Brest were, though. Let's not give the Red Bull franchise too much credit.
Let's not put Brest on the bull, is that it? So let's not make Brest stop them.
Yeah, not quite yet.
Okay, well done. Congratulations, Galaxy, which is So we'll watch the transfers both coming in and out. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then I think on the final section now is world news. So there have been a lot of developments. So there was the draw for the Club World Cup, and all the pots have been decided. Fairly sort of spread out. You've got like Inter Miami can play against Porto, Palmeiras, and Alea FC. It's pretty spread out as well. So again, I think once it gets to the knockout phases, it will get exciting. So that's in the traditional Champions League format. I think Real Madrid are in with FC Salzburg with Red Bull. Red Bull have qualified, which is interesting how Salzburg got in there, but they're in the same group with Al Hilal. So that's Real Madrid against Real Madrid. So Ronaldo could potentially play against Real Madrid if he sticks around. You've got Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund as well against a couple of other sort of the Sundowners. I think they're South African. In Group B, PSG, Atletico, that will be the big one. Group C, Bayern Munich, Boca Juniors. That will be interesting to see how Boca Juniors. I spent a period of my life living in Buenos Aires and went to the Bombonera and a couple of Boca games.
And I would just like to state right now, Auckland City, don't even get on the plane.
That's a long way.
Give them seriously, they're going to get their ass whooped.
This is
it's going to be ugly.
This is true. And then I'm just looking here. Chelsea have Flamengo, which will be interesting against, and then obviously Club Lyon as well. I think Club Lyon are Mexican, so that will be interesting.
And then Tunisia,
yeah.
And then a Tunisian club.
And then Group E, River Plate, and then Inter again.
Plate. River Plate.
River Plate, yeah. River Plate, yes.
Plate.
River Plate, the Silver River. And so they're the other Argentinian team, and that was one of the best games I've ever been to. El Supercup. Boca Juniors against River Plate. That was insane. It was a young Radamel Falcao was playing for River Plate, and also so was Cavani as well, which was interesting. I saw them before they were known. But anyway, so that happened. So that's sort of coming together. Tickets are available next week, so it'll be interesting to see what price point they come in at as well, comparing to the. That's something I am tracking because I do feel that MLS games are really expensive for what they are compared to what it is to go to a World Cup game or to a Premier League or a Champions League game. They are not as expensive as the MLS. So it'll be interesting to see how FIFA position that. And then, of course, I think the other big news is FIFA have done their mastery. So this is your moment to shine, the Qooligan, and talk about Dr. Evil. So just for context and background, they have announced the locations and the venues of 2 subsequent World Cups, 2030 and 2034. What they've done, which is unique, is in 2030, they have awarded it to Morocco, Portugal, and Spain. Okay, now this is not the first time there has been a joint World Cup. Korea and Japan, I believe, did it in the 2000s where they had a joint World Cup. You've had it a couple of times as well.
And they're doing it in 2026.
And they did it. Yep, that's correct.
Between Mexico, the United States, and Canada.
Exactly. So there is nothing new to this. So that's and of course, geographically, they're all sort of connected to each other as well. Morocco just across the.
Well, geographically, it makes complete sense, right? Because
there is a rattlesnake in this deal. Now,
absolutely.
Because 2030 is the centenary year for the World Cup, they have also decided to throw in centenary venues in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Okay, so technically it is a Morocco, Portugal, Spain World Cup, but with a little asterisk, there are going to be some games down here in South America for the centenary reasons. Now, do you want to explain what you think is the dark reason behind doing this? And I agree with what it is, but do you want to go ahead and explain why they've done this and what this means?
This is a long con, and this has been in the works for a very long time. This is the Great Dr. Evil long con. And the reason the centenary gave them a plausible mechanism to sell the long con without being called out for what it really was.
Yes.
So as we know, FIFA is divided into 7 regions. And each region, generally the World Cup venues shift between regions on a particular basis. And when you look at 2030, Morocco is Africa. Spain and Portugal are Europe.
Yep.
And the centenary then makes it South America. That's 3 regions. 2026, the United States. 4 regions. Right.
Previous World
Cup.
That means previous World Cup, Qatar, Asia.
Qatar was Asia.
Yes.
Right. That was the 5th region. And then the 6th region, of course, is
it's
Europe.
Is it Oceania, right? The
Oceania.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it's only 6 regions.
6 regions.
6 regions. You're right. 6 regions. Oceania's never getting a World Cup, kids.
No, they're not getting. Yeah. Oh,
sorry. I mean, once Australia left Oceania and joined Asia, they're never going to get one, because there is not the infrastructure in Oceania is not sufficient enough to host World Cup games, right? They only have, I think they only have 3 stadiums in the entire Oceania region that are equipped to seat more than like 20,000 people. But so basically, the reason why they did that is because I believe there is a 12-year ban, lockout for any region that has previously hosted a World Cup may not bid for a World Cup until 12 years after their last one. Surprise, surprise, 2034. That's the 12-year gap between Qatar and surprise,
Saudi, right? And this is where this is going to. But also, just sorry to again there, you're saying there's a 12-year lockout, but also the rules stipulate that every other region has to be awarded the World Cup in that time, unless there are extenuous circumstances. So exactly. So what Infantino has done here is he's ticked all the boxes. He's played a bureaucratic game, and he's done it. I have not broken any rules here, right? I have given it to a single region. There is a 12-year lockout since Qatar, and obviously in that region. So lo and behold, who gets to host, and who is then hosted for the following World Cup 4 years later in 2034?
Correct. That's right. No, I mean this has been and the most galling thing about it is, if they wanted to do it, just do it. Fine. I mean, but to say and to claim that there was a vote is a joke.
Yeah.
There was no vote. There was only one region that could host.
Mm-hmm.
That was Asia. There was no other country that even set forth and put forth a proposal. Why? Because they knew that would just be money wasted on a proposal.
Yep.
Because everybody knew that the whole reason that this was being done was specifically to give Saudi Arabia a World Cup, and people couldn't complain about it because all the rules were followed.
And it was a lot of Saudi Arabia. No one, well, unless someone else in the sort of Middle East, unless you're going to get Bahrain or Oman or some one of these other countries bidding, but that's not going to happen for a number of reasons. But yes, so I agree, and I think he's a wonderful, wonderful politician and a bureaucrat here, and he's ticked all the boxes, and he's achieved that objective. And look, who knows what has gone on in the back doors as well. I think this is well documented as well. I don't think we're breaking any news here that FIFA is not the most cleanest, squeaky clean operation or sort of organization. They know how to put on.
Let's not forget, like, Infantino is a resident of Qatar, right? He is an Italian citizen, Swiss Italian citizen.
Yeah.
But he has lived, and his entire family live in Qatar.
Is that true? I did not know that.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's
all his children attend school in Qatar. Yep. They're all there.
Yep.
He does not hide his affiliation with the petrostates, right? That is something that is, that is very, very well known.
Yeah.
And so this comes as no surprise to anybody who follows this. I mean, it was made readily apparent. The only thing that is somewhat surprising is the fact that there is so little, and to the point where this was the very first time where an announcement of this magnitude was not accompanied by a live in-person event. And this was also intentional, because the protests that would have occurred in a live event would have marred the opulence and the whole selling of it. It was a virtual event.
And if you think about it, look, Gianni Infantino was the number 2 of Sepp Blatter, the previous president of FIFA.
Yeah.
And the awarding of the World Cup to Qatar when it was in 2022 was an explosion. It just basically, there was such backlash. And this is when the FBI went and then arrested, I think his name was Chuck Blazer. He was the US delegate from FIFA. He got arrested on money laundering because he was taking backhanders. And then a whole bunch of other sort of, stuff that blew out. And ultimately this ended up with Sepp Blatter having to resign. And then Gianni Infantino managed to then elevate himself from number 2 to number 1, which is interesting. So he's learned and he's done this dance before. And so he is, you could, again, if you're being cynical about it, maybe we are just sort of tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists here as well, but I don't think so.
No, but, this is, this is
this
is realpolitik at play.
This is politics and sort of, bureaucracy coming together. And look, I will say this though, I was at the World Cup in Qatar, and I know there was a lot of blowback before it and all the rest of it. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. Now, that's not necessarily partly the location because the venues were so close together. I saw 3 games in one day, which was incredible, and we all saw the final and how that was one of the best finals, probably if not the best World Cup final ever. So I think it will be, again, it's 2034. It's a long, long time away, and who knows what happens in that time, but it will be awarded. The question, the one I'm looking forward to is also, I think, the idea of that Morocco, Portugal, Spain, and then obviously the asterisks of the South American 3 countries that are sort of connected together.
Yeah.
Where do you, if you do want to go, where do you position yourself? Do you go base yourself in Buenos Aires? You base it,
right. I mean,
taking red wine, or but it's
right. I mean, again, that World Cup and especially FIFA's lip service to environmental practice and all that other stuff, right? I mean, listen, this is a hypocritical showing on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The amount of carbon emissions just to get the teams, the officials, and all the stuff back between these 3 continents and all this other stuff is like, fine. You see that. I mean, remember, this is the organization that created a subcommittee within their own group to study the effects of the financial ramifications of the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah.
Right. Then held their report for a year while they hired a PR firm to then tell them how to spin that report. Then the day before that report was released, said that they weren't even going to pay attention to the main finding of the report, which was you should take the money that you made from that and give it to the workers' fund. And they said, we're not doing that.
Yes.
Instead, we're going to do it for international development, without saying what that meant.
The grassroots game and all these kind of things. But
right.
I think
and without saying what that meant.
The general...
I'm going to come out and say it right now, and nobody will remember it. The death toll will be in the thousands for this. Mm-hmm. And it will be on a magnitude that was greater than Qatar.
I'm sure Saudi will probably...
It's going to be horrific.
Yeah, they will want to go there. I think the general theme with obviously sort of your sort of tone and the sort of things you've written about is Infantino has come in here and really sort of taken FIFA to the next level in terms of the money-making machine and sort of the traveling.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? And if we talk about the Club World Cup, obviously, I know as a fan, and this is where it's interesting, right? As a fan, there is some conflict. But as a fan, I'm excited. I do want to see this, and this is what the thing is. I think you'll watch it on TV. Obviously, you can't not watch it. We'll be talking about it, but it is how he's expanded this. They've moved, obviously, the dates as well. If you remember, Qatar is the World Cup's traditionally June to July, and obviously they did it in November, December. They're expanding obviously the women's game as well, and obviously the junior leagues as well. Instead of
not in Saudi.
Not in Saudi there, but
not in Saudi they're not.
They are, but around the world they are developing it. But they are definitely sort of moving pieces around the board, and their revenues have I'm sure have just gone exponential. I mean, that additional $1 billion from DAZN just from this new tournament that no one really gave a fuck about before, to be honest, right? Incidentally, the final of the existing format of the Club World Cup is actually happening this month. So you're going to have Real Madrid.
That's correct. Yeah, the South American champion. Will be decided. In late December.
4 teams in it, and so it happens as well. And then it sort of goes into this new format every 4 years. So it'll be interesting if they keep that format and then sort of keep this World Club Cup. I'm sure they will, because more tournaments means more money, more TV rights, more sponsorship, more. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's
we go back to the old In Living Color episode. Mo money.
Keep going. Keep it going.
Exactly right.
Well, we've bounced around the world, spoken about many different formats, competitions, leagues, goings on. We've got this weekend coming up. We will be back again next week, and it will be interesting to see what's happening in the world of soccer, the transfers, the blow-ups, the dramas. So
much happening. So much happening.
We will be obviously avidly watching, and we will be back again next week. Qooligan, fun as always.
Indeed.
See you next week.
Gary, take care.
Take care.